Hello everyone, welcome back to PJ Chen Design channel. Today we're gonna talk about this request from YouTube subscriber Ron regarding creating this puffy checkerboard design on the ring shank. Are you ready? Let's get started. I got an email from YouTube subscriber Ron. Send me a picture of this one and showing me this is the ring that I did in the shop, and it was hand carving, and would like to know how to duplicate this ring into the Rhino. So we are going to talk about the detail of how we get this checkerboard design. First of all, we are going to create a cabochon stone, and for whatever that size is. Since I don't have size, I'm just gonna make it up for whatever gonna look good for this design. What you can do is you can make a sphere, cut it in half, and kind of like 1D direction to make them into the size that you want. Then we are going to the front view, and then we need to draw a profile for it. Let's go ahead to draw our ring size. The ring size, like usual, I'm going to set it as a 16mm, and we need to draw the bottom of the ring shank for whatever size and thickness that you want. I'm just gonna roughly do about 2 over there, and then we are going to draw the line right there. From this arc to this point, the better looking curve is gonna use the curve, extended curve, and we're gonna do from arc to point. And we're gonna do it one more time again from this side to the point right there. So it's kind of giving us really nice puffy outline there. Let's take a look on the perspective. So now we have this. I'm going to use the commands to duplicate H and to duplicate the bottom of the stone. Then that will be the profile on the top. In fact, I probably need to make this a little bit bigger because the stone need to be somehow to sitting in there, so that's it, that will be the stone. And then to creating the surface for this ring shank, we are going to split this one with the point on the bottom. Okay, so now we have 2 curves right there. You probably will guess we are going to use is the sweep 2 rail. So this is your rail 1, rail 2, and then you got this cross section, and then you got this one here. All right, so this is the surface we are going to deal with and have a checkerboard on it. Let's use to create UV curve command I've been using in a lot of my demonstration, but it is really useful command right there. We're going to go to the top view, and let's take a look on this one. Depends on the size of the grid that you wanted to have. I'm basically going to do something like this. Let's go ahead to create a 2.5mm by 2.5mm square. Okay, and let me creating a surface by surface from planar curve to make this into a surface. If we turn on the control point, we're gonna notice it's only 4 points there, and then we cannot edit much there. So I'm going to rebuild this guy, and let's do 5 and the 5, and let's preview it. So this is some point for us to pull it, right? And we can click OK, and then I wanted to do is bringing up this point with the gumball and point up, right? If this is still too flat on the bottom and that's not the way you like, make sure that when you rebuild, you might want to rebuild instead of 5, you want to do 3 and 3. Okay, so that way when I kind of pull out this point right here, it will give me not as flat to the bottom. So this is the surface that we are going to use. Looking at the side view and see how bumpy that you want it, and then you can make it more bumpier if you want to. Okay, so that is one of the elements that we have, and I'm going to move that one from that point to that point. Now we need to duplicate it by using the rectangular array, and I'm going to do X for a lot more than what I need. I'm gonna do 30, I'm gonna do 30 as well. Okay, and then we're gonna do from here to there. All right, the reason I need a lot more is if we're looking back at the design, it is not straight down. The checkerboard is actually rotate 45 degrees, right? So we need a lot more space to cover that. Now, if I'm going to select everything that I have here as a group, let me group it, okay? And then what we wanted to do is rotate it 45 degrees. All right, so now it's become like this. I'm going to move this from this point and to any of the point that is snapping into the endpoint. The key is once you flow it back, you need to have them align perfectly. Well, first of all, we are going to moving those 2 points. We are gonna move from this point to this point, okay? And then so that left and the right will be matched, right? The second things we wanted to do, we need to make sure top and the bottom is matched too. So we are going to move this point and this point down a little bit. Let's move it from here, endpoint, to this intersect there. All right, so now they all match. We don't need the rest of them. Let's select all of them and hit join, right? So they become one piece. We are going to use the trim command. Let's pick up this one and let's trim the rest of it. So now everything is fitting into there. Let's take a look on the perspective. All right, so we have this one over there. Let's do a first try to flow it back to the surface. We need to have the base surface by the one that's on the bottom. So let's make it into the surface over there. And I'm going to turning into the red colors. It's easier for you to see. Okay, what happened if I flow this one back to the surface? We're going to use flow along surface. We're gonna pick up our object first, clicking on one of the corner and going into one of the corner there. All right, so now it looks nice over there, but there's a problem here. If you zoom in a little bit, you're going to see this one is flared out here. If that's the design, that's fine, but the design, let's take a look on this image right here. The image that we have, this top triangle is actually puffy but in a halfway, so it's kind of puffy getting into this oval shape. So we try to match that triangle things there. So with this flow, we know it is successful, has a checkerboard in this way, but we need to edit that a little bit. So let's delete this surface and let's come back over there. So right here that we have all of this triangle, they need to come down a little bit. So we are going to come over here and I would like to explode it, this one. So now they back to individual square, and we're gonna pick up this edge right here, pick up all of them on the edge that the triangle we're going to manipulate it. Okay, so the command that we are going to use is called cage edit, and we want to choose the bounding box. All right, we want to align to the wall, and XYZ for 4 of them is fine, and then all of a sudden we'll get something like this. If you look at my front view, if I enlarge, they're going to look like this, right? So we're gonna come over to the front view and then we're gonna pick everybody on the edge here. So the goal is make them flat, you know, to the construction plane. So I'm going to use the commands called setPoint, SETPT. And then we're gonna come over here and we're gonna click OK, and we're gonna going into the very bottom endpoint, right? So all of a sudden you see this is kind of closing down there like that. All right, so if we flow this one, it should be much better. The other things that we have is on the bottom right here, it's really bumpy, right? And in fact, we don't need that many bumpy to the bottom of a ring shank, and then they're coming into the point. This doesn't look really nice, right? So I will suggest to do like just like half of them. After like half is kind of slightly blending into the ring shank. So let's see how we're going to get that one. We are coming back to this one here, and let me move it a little bit closer it's easier to zoom in like this. Okay, we need to have those starting from somewhere about half, and it's gradually change and blend it to the bottoms completely flat, right? So we need to make all those bump flat there. Let's use the same command. It's called cage edit, and we select this one, and then we want to do the bounding box align to the wall, and 0.444 is fine, and then we will have something like this. I have 4 point on the X, 4 point on the Y, 4 point on Z. Okay, we want to pick up all of this on the bottom half of the ring shank over there. Okay, and that's coming to the front view, and then we have something that's selected right there. We want to use the command again, setpt set point. And again, we want to set it at the Z because we are at the front view. Okay, so that's bringing down to the endpoint here. So you can see the pattern is gradually changed to the 0 there. All right, so you should flow nicely this time. Let's do one more time. Going to the transform, flow along the surface. We're gonna pick up this one here and pick up the base surface, and we're gonna pick up the target surface. Alright, so now we have this one. Let's take a look on the render view. I mean, we still see those lines in the ghost view, but let's take a look on the render view and see how they go. Alright, so they do coming down to the bottom and slightly gradually disappear, right? So this is what we are looking for. If you do like to change a lot more, maybe you want to create on your cage edit, instead of have 4 point on the X, you might want to do 6 point, and so you can kind of have better control of how you want this pattern disappear, right? So now we have this, we need to close it up. A lot of time when you have flow along the surface, even the edge that you have is really nice, it's completely matched. You always will have a seam over there. So we want to go to the Analyze and Edge tool and Show Edge, and then we're gonna click on this one. Let's take a look in the detail. A lot of time that what you're going to facing is that's where the seam is, right? And also when you have a lot of things coming to the bottom and it'll come into one point, and that point usually causes the issue, right? So we need to try to avoid that. A few things I would like to share my little trick with you. We're going to delete this one. We're gonna do one more time. First of all, to avoid all the point coming into one point on the bottom, like what we see there, that usually cause some issue. So what I like to do is I'm going to pick up those 2 points and just move it out a little bit. So that way when we flow it back, there will be a hole on the bottom. It won't be coming into 1 point. So that way will help a little bit. Okay, so let's do one more time. Let's flow it with the transform, flow along the surface, and we want to pick up this object, enter, click on here, and go into the target surface, and we want to click it there. So now we have this one here. Let's do one more test. Add the object in, and we kind of see we have a clean open on the top. We have a seam right there, and we have a hole on the bottom. It's much easier to fix this hole compared to everything coming to 1 point. All right, so what we're gonna do is my little trick. I'm going to explode everything and then join them back, right? So that is kind of join those seam right there, and only thing I need to deal is top and the bottom, right? So I'm gonna go into the front view. The one on the top, it should be flat, so we are going to use this surface from planar curve, and we are going to select everything on the top, and we hit enter. Then that will create a surface there. So let's go ahead to click on this surface and the poly surface. Let's join them. Then you don't have naked edges there. Now let's try to fix the one in the bottom. The one on the bottom, again, use the surface from planar curve. We're gonna pick up this one, and all of them. Then we will come up with this surface, and we're gonna pick up this surface, and let's join them together. Let's go ahead to click on this object, And then it's a close polished surface, and that's at the object. Just want to double check it's a no naked edges. So right now it's good for us to do the bowling difference. We're going to pick up this curve right here for our ring size, and we are going to the solid extruded planar curve straight like this, and we will need to do the bowling difference. Pick up the one you want to keep, and this is our cutting tool. So then we will have something like this. We can turn on our stone that is on the top. Let's take a look on the ghost view. Alright, so that will be our ring today. You can go ahead and do the bezel and to hold the stone. Today's video is a little bit long, but I just want to make sure that I touch all the points for this ring. I hope you enjoy. Please like and comment and share my video, and don't forget to click that little bell next to the subscription so you can get my notification whenever I publish a new video. Thank you, and I will see you next time.